Welcome to the Lead Lamp Media podcast. This week we have Alexis Delaughter from Alexis Delaughter Photography, and we're going to kind of talk with you about how you started your own business, where you kind of navigated through the waters of being a photographer locally, and kind of the pitfalls and triumphs that you've seen along the way, and then just kind of tell us about the fun parts of it too. So I'm sure you have plenty of stories, but we're just going to share them with us.
Awesome.
So how did you get your start in photography? I know it can kind of be seen as a hobby, but then how do you take it from that?
Yeah.
And make a business out of it?
Yeah. So I actually did start as a hobby in 2011. My first son was born, and I just wanted to capture all of those precious moments. Obviously the newborn stage, and then all those milestones, crawling and walking. I kind of took that and started to see that I was developing a passion for it that was more than just documenting my child's life. So I started to capture photography for my friends and family, and then that kind of involved other people inquiring about my services, and then it kind of rolled into a business without me trying.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny you said, we both have kids that are now older, but documenting and capturing those, because I know there's so many times when you think of something in the moment and you're like, you don't realize that's not going to last forever. So it's cool that you're like, I just want to document. I want to take pictures of all of that every stage. Because it does go quick. So now you're probably able to offer those services to other people. That way they can keep those memories as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And in 2011, I mean, iPhones now are huge and everyone has one on them at all times. I feel like in 2011, that wasn't like, not people still had like their little pocket digital cameras, and weren't focused so much on their phone as they are today. So that was really big for me, was having like quality photos that my phone necessarily didn't have the capability of taking back then.
Yeah. And like social media was big, but not in your pocket.
Yeah. Not as big as it is today. Yeah.
So, and like I said, the quality of a camera phone then, let's just be honest, was not what it is today.
No,
and
definitely
you can do some really crazy things with today's cameras.
Yes.
So that's interesting too. Like, what do you notice in photography today? Is there more people that are like, well, I'll just do it on my own? Or do you still find people that are like, no, I want to hire someone to...
I mean, the vast majority would like to hire someone, whether it's someone starting out or a professional. They're looking for that DSLR camera quality. But I've seen that some photographers actually market photography with their iPhones. They're doing sessions on their iPhones. I don't really appreciate that. It is kind of a weird thing. But the quality of cameras these days on phones is insane. It's insane. Like the depth, you can set them to take raw pictures. You can set the aperture on the camera.
And most people don't even realize you could probably do that.
No, they don't.
Go into auto.
No, even myself as a photographer, I don't go into my settings and deal with that. I just set it on auto for my phone, but that there is capability of doing that. So, I mean, it
still doesn't replace what you can
really
do
doesn't.
with DSLR.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Now, we have a little bit of camera knowledge here.
Yeah.
Are you using, do you use a mirrorless, or are you using a...
Yes, I've started using mirrorless about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Just kind of saw a few things about it and was like, oh, that's intriguing, and jumped on it really quick. Do
you prefer one or the other?
I think for color quality, I prefer my old mirror camera. I can tell a little bit of a difference, but the sharpness of a mirrorless, incredible. Even the features, I've noticed myself using like the back LCD screen more than looking through the viewfinder now. I like that more with the mirrorless, that I can tell better. The
quality of the screens now is incredible.
Yeah. So overall, I love my mirrorless. I still have a backup mirror camera.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the quality is crazy on the mirrorless.
Yeah, we got one. I think like the first year or two, they started to come out like big.
Yeah.
And then they obviously, when the price was a little bit more affordable, because inevitably whenever those new things come out, the price is way up here. You got to wait. But once they were kind of commercially like viable for a business, especially when we were younger, marketing group, we tried our hand at a couple of mirrorless cameras, and they're interesting. But like even Joe was saying when we first got them, like there's some limits to them as well. So, okay. Yeah. Well, you're geeking out on camera questions.
I know. That's okay.
So after you switched it from like, we're going to go back to the business side. Mm-hmm. So after you switched it from, okay, this is a neat thing. I did it for a couple friends and family and I'm going to start this business. What was like that first step like for you? Was it a little scary or?
Yeah, it definitely was scary. I mean, obviously I was very new back then and just seeing, like, I did some mentoring experiences with big photographers. And obviously I could tell my quality wasn't up to their standards. Right. Like I was still new. I was still learning. So I felt weird charging people in the beginning. So my prices they were very low. Yeah, definitely like unsustainable pricing. But that brought a lot of people to me that were looking for just someone with a camera that was cheaper. So a lot of people did start coming to me. I had like everyone's friends shared it with their friends and their family, and they all started coming to me. And yeah, I don't even necessarily think it was due to like my creative eye or my quality. It was just like, oh, hey, you did a good job for my friends and you're cheap, so I'll try you out. And
the social world made it easier.
Yeah.
Like 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
You had to have a studio and a sign out front. Yep. You had to have, like, you get the old Owen Mills looking photos and you go to someone's house and everyone has that Sears portrait studio look. But now you get them all digitally. And I think like the at home or kind of personal startup, smaller photographer can do, if they have an eye for setting up photography, they've kind of turned to old Sears photo studios. I mean, I don't even think they exist, but that style of photography, it kind of went the way of like Blockbuster. Like, you don't see that anywhere.
Yeah. I've seen some JCPenney like shoots recently on TikTok, but I feel like they're more so aimed at like being funny and like as a joke. It's like you're doing like old, like the 90s
nasty looking sweater.
Yes. And you're like looking into the distance and like awkwardly posing.
Weird gradient background.
Yeah. I don't think many people use JCPenney for like their actual memory.
Do they even exist? Like
they do, yeah.
Photo studios still exist? Yes. That's wild.
Yeah.
I remember being a kid and you go to the Sears. You go to Sears photo studio.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason why I started my business too. When my son was first born, I didn't have anyone take his newborn photos. So I set up a session with Sears actually and had the worst experience ever. The pictures were the worst things I've ever seen in my life. And then I bought the camera that week to start capturing my own memories because I just didn't know many photographers like in my area. I didn't like, besides like big name studios, I didn't know anyone. So I was like, oh, I'll just try it myself. But yeah, Sears was not just no shade on Sears, but it was bad.
Well, the one, at least the one locally doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, so. Then that's good.
So that's like a wild evolution of the photography industry, going from you have to go somewhere that has a studio to I mean, we all see them probably. There's way more people that if they have the talent for it, and now the equipment is a lower barrier of entry. Yes. But then you probably see this too. Don't name any names, but you probably still see because it's a low barrier of entry, there's a wide range of the quality of photos that you can take in. So explain what to look for when you're trying to find a photographer. For someone that's listening, like, you can go cheap. And someone has the same camera could produce wildly different results. Right.
Yeah. A lot of it comes down to like education and experience for what I suggest people look for. Newer photographers, they may have the same model camera that I have, but all the training that I've had, that's something that you can't just set the camera to auto and have the same experience. Also, like, looking at their training background, especially like I shoot a lot of newborns and
you specialize. You'll do other pictures. Yeah. You've told me before.
Yes.
Like, you have very tight lines on what you like to.
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of like motherhood stuff. So like newborns, milestones, and the amount of posing knowledge it takes for newborns to do it safely. And this is your precious little baby that you just gave birth to. You spent 9 months getting this baby ready to go into the world. And if you just hand your precious baby into someone who just started photography last week and they're almost just looking at other people's work and saying, oh, I can do that. That looks easy. your baby isn't being posed safely. There's a lot of poses that can cut off the airway or circulation for a baby. Unsafe posing where their body, even though they've been squished up inside of you for so long, there's poses that are just flat out unsafe. And a lot of posing also is composite. So you're taking a blend of photos and editing them together. So it may look like, oh, I can do that just by posing the baby and letting them go. But it's really like we're holding their head in one photo and then we're holding their chin in the next photo and then kind of blending it together.
You're staging 3 different photos and pushing them.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot, even TikTok has become huge and I've seen a lot of photographers. Yeah. But I've seen a lot of photographers post like behind the scenes and they're just flat out doing unsafe poses and they just may not have had the education to do it. And
that's specifically for newborn, but I'm sure even when you're doing, headshots for people or you're doing whatever type of photography, whatever subset of photography, there's still, you probably see it too, where you're like, why did they set it up this way? Or I would have done it that way. Yeah. And some of them are right, some are wrong.
Right. Yeah.
But it comes from you doing it more and learning. Yeah. Did you do, when you said you did trainings, did you take classes or
I did
any special courses for like newborns specifically?
So my first mentoring experience that I've had was with a famous newborn photographer in Indiana. So I did a few days of just newborn hands-on training with her. I've also done photography classes at Hack, local college. And then I've done some online newborn courses as well that I'm still a part of. Like I've been doing this for over a decade now and I still like everything just changes constantly. So I like to stay up to date with it. So I'm still
people learn new ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and there's always like, I've been doing this for so long, but I still look at my photos and think I can improve in so many ways. So
it's like that with anyone that's creative. When you look at your own work and you're like, why did I do that? No one sees what you're talking about. But I always want to look and see how people see my pictures through their eyes because I look at all my pictures and I'm so critical of them. You're seeing all the problems.
Yes, I see all the problems and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that doesn't look great. And then I see other people's work and they may do things exactly how I do it and they may edit similar to me. And I'm like, why can't mine look like that? And I'm like, I just wonder if people see that and say they look the same.
They're probably saying that other photographer is probably looking at your work going,
or their work. We're our own worst critics. So
we do that with everything we work on. Like, because you know the secrets behind how you built something and you're like, well, chances are it's fine. Yeah. But I know what I would have done different. Yeah. You just have to cut your losses at some point and say, this project's finished. Yeah. Move on to the next. Yeah. So walk me through what it's like. And you could tell a funny story or whatever, like what it's like to photograph newborns or younger children.
So newborns are interesting. They obviously have their own mind. Like they're right out of their safe womb. And I'm usually seeing that within 7 days of being born.
Oh, wow.
So they are fresh. Yeah. They just want to be warm and snuggled and fed 24/7 at that point.
Moved around.
Yeah, exactly. So some will come in sleeping already and stay sleeping for a good bit. Some, they're up and ready to go. And then I have to undress them to get them in my outfits and my wraps and stuff. And that air hits them and they're like, absolutely not.
That's funny.
Yeah. I feel like my newborn sessions usually last like 3 hours. And I feel like 2 hours and 30 minutes maybe is just getting the baby prepped.
Yeah. That's funny. So,
and you
probably run into like, people don't think there's a lot of personality in a 1 week old baby, but like even with our 2 kids, they couldn't have been 2 different newborns. Yes. So like, I'm sure you run into just the whole spectrum of this one's calm the whole time. Yes. This one just is screaming. How do you sometimes just like, we're going to make the best of this. You just got to get through it. Or other times where you're like, we got to come back and try this again. Or
there's never been a time that I've said, okay, I need to stop here and we'll try again. Knock on wood that it's going to happen to me tomorrow. But I have a lot of patience. So I'll have the parents feed them. I'll walk around, rock them. A lot of times it's gas that's causing them to be upset. So I have a special little vibrating pillow that I put on their tummies just to help relieve gas. I will just sit with them for maybe an hour trying to get certain poses. obviously if they're hysterically crying, like I will just give them back to mom or dad and have them just do a little snuggling and hopefully get them to sleep eventually. But I just wait it out and eventually they give in.
You can probably get pictures while they're being held.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If they're calm that way.
Yeah. My goal is to get like sweet, sleepy poses, but obviously not every baby's a little bit different. So some babies will just be awake for a few hours. They're fed, they're happy, they're warm. They just want to be awake for a little bit. So in that case, I just do more like a lifestyle type photos with, I have like a bassinet and a bed in my studio. So it doesn't look strange that they're wide awake and and laying there.
Some just sleep the whole time too.
Yeah, some are perfect. Like they come in asleep and they don't make a peep and we're done super quick. So everyone's a little different.
You mentioned you have your own studio.
Yes.
I remember when you were telling me that you were building out your studio. Walk me through that a little bit. The process of like you dedicated space in your home for this.
Yeah. So
and I don't know if my wife was like, if I'm gonna, take up a room, I'm sure there was a discussion there. You had to breach that subject and then kind of walk through building that out too. Yeah.
So my studio is actually behind our house. So we have about 3 acres. Most of it's wooded area. So you kind of park in our driveway and pass by our house, but there we have a creek that runs through our yard. So you have to cross the creek over a bridge. And then in the woods there is my studio, which I have to call like my she shed. So
your she shed. That's a good commercial.
Yeah. Good it's like 24 feet by 21 feet. My husband built the entire thing himself from start to finish. And I kind of got to customize it and
you're good all year too, heated, cooled.
Yeah. So there's air conditioning, there's heat in it.
Very good.
Yeah.
So that's like your own space then, which is detached from your house, which is nice too, because then it's you can leave it set up. You don't have to worry about kids tearing it down.
Yeah.
And then what was that like when you went from, because I'm sure there was time where you were photographing without a studio till now you're photographing with a studio.
Yeah.
It's probably a big game changer in what you could do.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like previous years, I just shot outside only. I would maybe have some people that would say, I want you to come in my home and like their own home to do sessions. But primarily I was just outside. We'd pick a location outside and go there. And then if I had like some people who wanted those specialized newborn shoots, I just had to turn them away. I would do some outdoor newborns, but the weather has to be very specific for that. It has to be a nice warm summer day. So that was very hard. So back then I was more so focusing on families. But I've always like at my start, 2012 is when I took that first newborn training experience. So I've always had in my mind from the beginning that I wanted to focus on newborns. Just logistically without a studio, it's very complicated to do. And now lifestyle sessions are a big thing where
explain that.
Yeah. So that's when photographers are just going into the client's home and doing more so like unposed photos. So just like naturally sitting on the couch or like in the nursery holding, we're not really posing the babies. It's more so the parents holding them.
More like what it would look like just an average
in real life. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's becoming
Except
big.
They're probably not wearing like pajamas.
No, they're definitely like makeup and you want to.
That might be a thing though. Maybe we could start like almost
like an actual real
like
day.
a candid
like you're covered in throw up and
hairs all over. Dad's just
no
in his
sleep.
gym shorts. It might be
Yeah, that could be. But yeah, those weren't popular like 10 years ago.
Yeah, now that you say that, I know. I've seen a bunch of that style of photography.
Yeah. So I kind of just had to avoid that area for a little bit. A few years ago though, I started, I found a small studio space that I was using for a while, but I had to tear down every single session and I couldn't plan days in advance like I like to. I had to go in like right before the session, set up everything quick, do the session, tear everything down. Yeah. It just felt like a lot. So that's when I kind of started going in my husband's ear, like, oh, we could we have a nice space back there. And I guess I just bugged him enough that he was finally like, okay, let's just do it. I looked at pricing for like sheds that were pre-manufactured, just crazy expensive. And my husband's in the construction industry. He manages a lumber yard. They actually provided most of the lumber for my shed just on projects that they didn't need it for anymore. They had pre-built trusses that we essentially took those trusses for the roof and built the studio around the dimensions they already had. So it saved us probably $10,000 doing it that way.
When you have any kind of connection like that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's been great just being able to set up days in advance if I want to. If it's been an exhausting session, I can just leave all the props sitting there and go inside and take care of it the next day. Yeah. So it's been a game changer, and I've finally been able to do newborns as much as I want now.
So you had your sights set on that.
Yes.
12 years ago.
Yes.
And now you knew like that was the end goal you wanted to get to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You still do some, I'm sure, sessions.
Yeah. Maternity kind of rolls into newborn. A lot of people don't want to go to a different photographer just for maternity. And then once I do their newborn and some milestone sessions, they're pretty much set with me for life then. They want to keep going through with the family sessions.
You'll do that if it's like they'll follow through.
Yes.
But you don't like just to take on a random client for...
Yeah, like family sessions I will, but things like weddings, I no longer do weddings. And engagements go with weddings, so I don't really do like engagements or couple sessions anymore. Like events, parties, things like that. I
feel like that's a whole different industry though.
It is.
It's a whole different style of photography.
It is.
They don't look...
Yeah.
It's not the same style.
Yeah. I've done weddings before. I love the energy at weddings. It's just, it's hard with me now with having kids, and sports are always on the weekends. Day. Like that's your weekend.
Yeah. Especially in the spring and summer, and kids are playing outdoor sports.
Absolutely.
I get it.
It's a lot. And just the expectation of having a sneak peek done the next day. And there's sometimes thousands of pictures that you're sending to them. Yeah. So it's too much for what the level that I would like to commit to.
No, that's totally, I get it.
Yeah.
So let's kind of wrap up. Like, what does it mean to you to be able to have like your own, you created this business from scratch, from just an idea like, oh, well, I didn't like what I got at Sears. I want to take my own child's photos. What does it mean from taking it from that to you're doing it on your own now?
Yeah.
Has it afforded you any, not monetary things, but just freedom or sense of pride that you've built this to now you have your own like large studio in your backyard? Yeah.
No, it really has changed my life. Not even from the start, like just being able to capture these moments for people. Yeah. It's been definitely an exciting experience for me. I love that I can set my own schedules, and if I just need a month off because of sports or because of vacation or something, I can set my own schedule and allow for that. I love the flexibility of it, and just how much you can grow with it. Yeah. Everything's always changing. You can choose to edit things differently. There's just so many different avenues. Like
every photo shoot, you can learn something new.
Yes.
Or try a new technique.
Yeah.
And it's nice with digital now. You can keep an original, edit, and you're like, I don't like that. And
I save all my unedited pictures. And sometimes, like even in slower months, like during the winter, I will just pull old sessions and try out new editing things that I've learned just to see if I like that better. Also, just the people that I get to meet, it's just really nice. We almost like form a bond with each other. Like I'm stepping into their world for a little bit, getting to capture these precious moments, and people just constantly are messaging me like pictures of like, oh my gosh, like he just started walking yesterday, and I'm like, what? Like, how was that? How did we do their newborn session almost a year ago?
I was gonna say, let's. This is a fun one to wrap up on. Yeah. So like, my wife's a teacher, and for her, that moment is like when she sees a kid that graduated high school that was like one of her first classes. Yeah. She's like, oh man. Yeah. Like that's rough. Yeah. Especially because she's like elementary school. So that's a lot of years. But do you ever have a moment where you're like, I photographed that kid. She or he was like, 7 days old, and now they're...
It's usually at their first birthday cake smash, which is like a very short period of time. But that first year, a lot of changes happen. Going from a newborn, and then sometimes parents don't do the milestones in between. So sometimes I'll just be seeing them for the newborn and then a cake smash session, and they're walking and they're talking and they're shoving their face full of cake. Like that's a big change. So I'm usually shocked with how fast it goes. Like parents, we always say like, oh my gosh, that went so fast. But usually it's for like our own kids, not other people's kids. For me, it's for other people's kids too. Like they're like, I need to book their first year session. I'm like, I just did the session last month. And they're like, no, it's been 11 months ago, which is just crazy. Like how fast time flies, not only for us as parents, but me watching other people's kids grow.
Yeah. You get to be part of their lives. Yeah. And you get to be part of not just their life, but that's obviously it's a very big moment in any young family's life. Like their first kid, their third kid, whatever, like, you're at a very intimate part of a family's life.
Yeah.
It's cool that you get to leave like your thumbprint on part of that.
Yeah.
So, and it's not to belabor this, but it probably also generates a lot of referral business for you too. Like you were saying, is that probably what you think you get most of your business
definitely
out of?
Word of mouth from other clients going to their friends and family is a bulk of it.
Photos. I love that picture.
Yeah. I always, when I send their final photos out to them, I always request that they just tag me on social media. That's huge. Like just their family being able to see where they got the photos
and
from.
Look through the other ones.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh, look at all these other pictures.
So word of mouth is huge. I've tried like Google ads, things like that, and nothing quite compares to just the good experience from the clients.
Yeah. That's in any business, word of mouth or just personal referrals is the best way.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, we think she has a really cool website, partially because we helped develop and design it, but alexisdelaughterphotography.com and obviously social media. We'll grab the links and we'll put them in the show description. So anyone listening or watching, if you didn't get there from us or Alexis sharing it, you can find it in the show description as well to check out some of her work. So, well, thanks for coming on. I know photography can be fun just because it's more of an art. Yeah. And we are not talking business, but it is a business. Yeah. But we can geek out on some photography stuff too. So thank you for coming on the show. And hopefully we can do another one later. Maybe an update.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Yep.